creation, evolution, and intelligent design in the public schools, in colleges, in universities, or even in Christian schools? What's appropriate in the science class and in the science department? With us to talk about it is Liza Lentini. She's contributing editor to Discover magazine. She's just written an article, One Universe Under God, Creationism Battles for the Hearts and Minds of America's Teachers. Welcome to the program, Liza.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. You've written about Kansas, and tell us what's your take on the status right now of creation in the classroom?
Well, first of all, what I tried to do in the article is not to pick a side. I don't know if you noticed that by reading it, but this issue, for me, above all else, is an educational issue, not a religious issue. And I think that children in the classroom need structure. And I don't believe it's best to present children with two theories and ask them to choose. But I do think that really good teachers can help children formulate their own opinions and develop their own beliefs. And I think we need to remember that teaching isn't just about presenting material, it's about what you do with the material that you present to children. And the responsibility of an educator is to do what's best for the student, period. It's not about forcing one's own agenda or one's own beliefs.
Well, let me ask you this, because if we do not teach two theories to students, will we teach, for instance, Republican and Democrat philosophy? Will we teach socialism and capitalism? Will we teach in other spheres, the disagreements and the controversies? What do you think of that?
Well, I think that this is a completely separate issue. I mean, as you know, in 1987, the Supreme Court decided that, and I hope what we're talking about here specifically is public schools, but
right.
Decided that you could not teach creationism in public schools.
Right.
Period.
That's right.
Now, intelligent design, and tell me if you disagree here, grew out of a creationist tradition which argues against evolution. So I do believe that you should teach the two theories side by side in a social studies class or current events class, and I think it's fantastic for college-age students. But for children, I think it's something completely different. And like I said before, I think that you need to present students with a theory, and you are only claiming it's a theory, and help them to develop their own beliefs. Education, I think one thing the article doesn't touch on, but I would like to touch on it, is that education is also, especially in terms of children, is the responsibility of teachers and parents. And we assume that education stops in the classroom. It doesn't, and it shouldn't. And parents need to ask questions. They need to help their kids develop their beliefs.
Well, I would say, Liza, I would probably take a different view than you on where intelligent design came from. As I study the intelligent design movement, it appears to me that these are men and women who on scientific grounds alone are saying that the complexity of life, the complexity of organisms and systems, they're taking Darwin seriously. Darwin's black box, the challenge that Behe talked about, where Darwin said, if there's any system so complex that it could not have evolved through natural selection, Darwin said, my theory goes out the door. And so Behe, I think, picked the eye, he picked blood clotting, he picked this flagellum on a cell, and Behe is showing, as a biochemist at Lehigh University, he's saying that flagellum couldn't evolve, that eye couldn't evolve, blood clotting couldn't evolve, and on scientific grounds, that was Darwin's defeater that Darwin said. And so I think he's saying, I'm not talking about the Bible at this point. I'm not talking about God at this point. But he says, I'm just saying that Darwinism fails on scientific grounds. Would you have a problem with that in a school?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think I understand what you're saying, but I think the problem with intelligent design is that it does argue for the existence of a designer.
Yes, it does.
Who may or may not be God.
That's true.
And I think the problem is, clearly you can't go into a science class and say, hey, here's an intelligent designer. We're not going to call him God. It's tough. It really walks a fine line. I think that is the problem with intelligent design.
Well, it probably is the limitation of intelligent design. And, my view as a Christian thinking through this is that intelligent design has a negative direction to it, a negative strategy, and that is it undercuts Darwinism, but it doesn't put anything in its place. And so that's where the creationism difference, in that, if you teach biblical creation, really what you're teaching there is who that God is and what that God is, and you're really teaching them the biblical material. But I do think, what are your thoughts about the controversy? That is, there's some people that say we should teach the controversy in school. That is, not really teach intelligent design or creationism, but teach the battle of ideas. That is, teach the pre-Darwin view, teach the Darwin to the present view, teach creationism, teach intelligent design. That is, show the students there's been a controversy and hear the arguments of both sides as a controversy. What do you think about that view?
I think that would be utterly fantastic, personally. And I just don't know if that belongs in a science class.
It would be.
I do think it's important. I think it's exceptionally important to make students aware of all those views. And the controversy, yes, absolutely.
Hey, I wonder if I could get you to comment on this, Liza, because you've done some research in this area. Big story last week here in Texas at Baylor University. It's a Christian university, a Baptist university. They have a professor there who has his own personal website. His name is Dr. Robert Marks. And on this website, he tried to show with some computer models that random mutation and natural selection were limited in what they could accomplish through evolution. And he linked, I think, on his site to some intelligent design movements and so forth. And the university, this is a university now, ordered him to take down that personal website. What do you think about that?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar, but that was a personal website?
It was a personal website, but it was on the university server.
Oh. Well, I have to be honest with you, I'm not familiar with the whatever, restrictions they have, for professors teaching at that university. But I think that was his first mistake. It should have been a personal website. Personally, that's just how I view it. But, that's the beauty of living in this country, is that we can believe whatever we want to believe. And there are many people have beliefs far beyond evolution, intelligent design, creationism, as we all know. I mean, people think we fell from the sky, or we're here because of aliens, or whatever it is. We should be allowed to express those beliefs as part of the beauty of being here.
Well, I agree with that part, Liza. The only problem I have with it is it seems like there's sort of a one-sided neutrality on this, and that is, I'm a college president, and I know our faculty on their personal websites have all sorts of hobbies and books they're recommending, and all sorts of lines of thoughts they're exploring. And it does seem to me that the mainstream, politically correct intelligentsia is open to everything except today. They're open to everything except this idea. That there was a designer, that there was a creator. They are afraid of the notion of God.
They are. You just touched on it right there. They're afraid. Religion is such a hot-button issue in this country.
Well, Liza, thank you for being with us. We need to move on. Liza Lentini, she's written an article, One Universe Under God. It's about creationism battles for the hearts and minds of America's teacher. Thank you so much, Liza.
Thank you so much.